Hey, you! I'm over here. 'Neath the twilight iridescence. Unfurl your all-seeing eye, and there I shall be. Unless, of course, I decide to get to you first. Lost souls and husk people, welcome to your doom. I mean, welcome to the show. I am Count St. Gerard, custodian of the Phonic Codex, and this is Monsters Anthology, Volume 2. You've caught me in my sanctuary of solitude, my refuge when I must brood over wicked designs, far from the bubble toil and cauldron trouble of the lair. Tonight's agonizing agenda: we'll roam a cursed graveyard and confront a pair of reckless lady killers. But that is merely the prelude. If you cannot tell, I'm ready for takeoff. At twilight, we take wing for the lawn swamps and swindlers of good old Louisiana. There, I intend to exhume ancient bones and hunt down a dwindling horror, the Ghoul. But not just any rotting revenant will suffice. I could raise an army of the undead with a mere pinky flick. Yet to sire a true Ghoul, that is akin to striking the honeypotted heiress. And while we're on the topic, shades speak of a youth named Lance, who was fortunate to experience such an encounter and perished without so much as a final whisper. I imagine his companions would have been enthralled at his account. They instead only greeted his demise with icy indifference. Good friends, it seems, are rarer than forbidden lore. When next we rendezvous, it will be in the Paris of the South. Until then, dear listeners, do try not to share young Lance's lamentable fate. This graveyard was actually cursed. During a game of truth or dare on a gloomy night, a haughty boy named Lance was dared to go into the local cemetery at the end of the road. Not wanting to seem scared, he climbed the gates and sat down on a headstone, telling himself, "There's nothing to be afraid of." But then he felt the urge to pee. He chuckled as he relieved himself on one of the graves. But as he was doing so, he saw a shadow move out of the corner of his eye. When he turned around, there was a horrifying ghoul staring right in his face. Lance tried to get away, but the creature dragged him into an open grave nearby. And after burying him alive, the creature relieved itself on Lance's grave, and the two of them were never seen again. Here we are. Inhale that dank air, the scent of death tangled with rot. Out here, far from the city's glow, it feels almost peaceful. My kind of haunt, but we're not here to admire the view. Tonight, we stalk a ghoul. You see, vampires and ghouls share a dark lineage, yet they part ways by degrees of refinement. Classification of the undead can often be deciphered from its genesis to its exodus from the world. So first, observe the unholy methods by which a ghoul is born, and after that, the dreadful manner in which it must die. First, by flawed embrace. Some mortals tasted the vampiric gift and failed. Their bodies rejected the change, yet death refused to claim them. When their mortal spark died, something alien crawled in, animating the corpse. Thus, a true ghoul was born. Second, by a necromantic conduit. Others arise by forbidden rites. Black magicians, dabbling in primeval sorcery, conjure life in the dead. Such power is so corrupting that few wizards survive long enough to complete the ritual. Lastly, a starved vampire. Even a vampire can slip into a ghoulish state when deprived of blood. But this state is temporary. Feed again, and the creature reclaims its vampiric grace. A true ghoul, however, can never ascend to full undead nobility. It survives only on carrion, skulking among graves. True ghouls are therefore exceedingly rare. Few mortals endure the flawed embrace. and fewer necromancers dare or live to craft them. Still, owing to its supernatural nature, the creature endures as long as their cadaver remains. Their flesh does not heal. Only utter destruction will banish them. Even a cleaved head will lunge and bite with pestilent ferocity if you stray too close. Left unchecked, though, the ghoul's body finally withers to dust, its nights of torment at last complete. Ah, what have we here? Why, I am struck with nostalgia, maybe even some pangs of guilt. No, never that. After all, we are not our brother's keeper. One hot summer eve along the banks of the Mississippi, when the creatures of the night stir in both the murky swamps and the urban decadence, there was held a lavish masquerade ball in a brilliantly lit neoclassical mansion. High society gathered beneath ornate masks, lost in whispered gossip, the sweet strains of music, and the lure of clandestine indulgence. As the evening deepened, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Two fresh-faced, debonair gentlemen had made their entrance. They were impeccably dressed in frock coats with delicate lace accents and cravats, their long, dark hair slicked back. Elegant white masks barely concealed their sharp gaze. With warm, knowing smiles, they engaged with the most audacious of the ladies, women whose flirtations and laughter filled the room with an electric charm. The assembled guests, now a buzz, whispered that these enigmatic men must have sailed in from France. In playful banter, the duo peppered their conversations with French phrases, savoring their pick of the salacious adult company as they glided effortlessly through the party. But as the ball's refined veneer gave way to drunken revelry and ribald humor, the night took a dark turn. A blood-curdling scream shattered the revelry, a cry of terror echoing from the courtyard. The few who were sober enough for concern rushed to the source, their curiosity morphing into dread. Behind a humble worker's shed in a neglected corner of the estate, they found a grisly scene. The lifeless remains of at least 9 distinguished women. Their once stunning dresses lay in tatters and soaked in crimson. The symbolism of their tragic fate undeniable. A trembling servant girl confessed that one of the victims was her mistress, who had departed with a group of companions just an hour earlier. And in the middle of the entourage, those 2 mysterious men. And so the tale of the beasts of the ball was told and retold, a chilling legend that whispered of dark desires, hidden identities, and the haunting specters of death at the masquerade. Catch part 2 for the spine-chilling finale and the big reveal. That last encounter whetted my appetite for revelry, so I've taken the liberty of elevating our milieu. Tell me, have you pondered that vampires, like rare vintages, come in distinct varieties? Some are made, but the rarest are born. These sovereigns of the night can endure centuries without blood, yet crave it, like a chastised lover pines for forbidden touch. One taste, however, and they erupt into monsters of apocalyptic proportions, carnivorous deities amidst the mortal coil. True vampires can sire a second generation from humankind through the ritual of the dark gift. Those created by a true vampire's kiss are exceptionally revered among the creatures of the night. As I said, mortals who accept rise anew or perish in the attempt. Other, more arcane outcomes exist, but I shall save those for a darker midnight. So what fate awaits you tonight? Will you fall lifeless at my feet? Awaken as my progeny? Stalk the graves as a ghoul? Or slip into an altogether more exquisite aberration? While I weigh this one's destiny, let us check on my less refined companions. I wonder, have our young lords recovered from last eve's excess? As the swamp flies begin to buzz in the humid New Orleans air around the pile of lifeless bodies, Local authorities soon descend upon the scene, combing through the estate and questioning the remaining guests, yet the elusive suspects leave no telling trace of their whereabouts. By dawn, a breakthrough emerges from an unexpected source. The sorrowful cemetery caretaker had a curious story. He regaled the officers with his hazy account. As he was drowning his despair among the headstones in the early morning hours before sunrise, he saw two men matching the description of the alleged killers striding boldly through the graveyard, laughing carelessly. They then vanished into an ornate stone tomb. In the midst of the small crowd gathered around the investigating officers, a silent cadre of clergy in dark attire silently nod to each other and slip away with knowing glances. The investigators take their time following the caretaker's clue, and eventually arrive at an imposing sepulchre, which was meant for two brothers from a poor Creole family who succumbed to an endemic disease 3 years prior. Despite their humble origins, an unknown benefactor paid for the opulent tomb, which now holds a secret far darker than death. Lying on the earth beside the sepulchre is a startling clue: a single white mask. The investigators open the sarcophagi, and what they see inside is so gruesome it defies belief. They're lying as if in a deep, unsettling slumber are two remarkably fresh-faced young men dressed in frock coats with lace and cravats. At first glance, it appears as though they are sleeping peacefully, but closer inspection reveals a macabre truth. Wooden stakes impale their hearts. Their heads rest, cleaved from their necks. The officers quickly realized they had indeed stumbled upon the lair of the beasts of the ball. The authorities seal the sarcophagi and silently close the case. Justice had been wrought, but the cost was too great to bear. They decided it would be better for the colony if the common folk never heard about the truth of what they had seen that day. Thus, the legend of the Masquerade Massacre lives on. But the beasts of the ball, however, do not. A fool and his immortality are soon parted. As for me, I myself knew these brothers before their first untimely demise, and I can tell you, they were never the brightest in the bunch. In their hubris, it seems they bit off more than they could chew. Oh well, some say the greatest monsters are those we create ourselves. They can't all be winners. After all that revelry, I could slumber for 2 nights straight. Good thing I have a place to crash, and the twins won't mind a guest. But first, what happens when a maid vampire is slain? Let me make this plain for you, warm bloods. These are the second class, the mortals we transform by ritual, those who mingle their blood with a strange, vampiric virus that feigns death while clinging to life. Beneath that pale flesh and obsidian stare, what truly dwells there? What dark spark animates that corpse, granting it unholy powers it never studied? When you dispatch such a creature, no resurrection, no redemption. It simply returns to the void from which it was summoned. And the twins, my fallen apprentices, no need for tears. I pulled some infernal strings in the underworld. Premier Leonard of the High Council has employed them as carrier pigeons. They wanted the incubus gig, but Leonard insists on dues paid in desperation. Our work is done. I shall sleep like the dead. Next time we will wade through a haunted bog where men disappear without a trace. Now, what were we forgetting? And here you are, my dear. Join me. There's room for 2, though I suspect you won't require it when this coffin rocks. Don't come knocking. That's all for tonight, dear mortals. I bid you farewell, and as always, don't forget to dread the dawn.